Okay, time to do the second half of the last level of Serious Sam 3. The Christmas decorations may or may not be gone, I'm not 100% sure. Also, I lowered the graphics a little bit for reasons. The main reason being I got kind of sick of the sun, but also another reason being that the frame rate was being weird whenever I was recording. And I don't really know what caused that. So instead, let's just not worry about all that and just worry about all these nasty things that are coming our way. From this point on, we are definitely reaching a more difficult part of the level. I'm probably not going to be using the hammer to kill these guys as much because they are going to be combined with red biomechanoids. And red biomechanoids are not really the friendliest of friends. Also, in the previous video I said that the hammer skin was made by red biomechanoid. It was actually just made by biomechanoid. I don't believe the word red is actually in his name, so I'm very sorry about lying about that. But now I have rectified my mistake one video later, so we can pretend that this hammer was always made by biomechanoid all this time, and that red biomechanoid doesn't exist. In fact, we don't have to pretend, because that's actually a factual statement. So, now that all this nasty stuff is coming at us at once, we nearly have to worry, aside from the fact that we still basically have access to infinite rockets right now, and there's actually a lot more bugs coming our way than red biomechanoids, and as long as we are just, well, shooting them with rockets, we're probably gonna be okay. We can always run a little bit further back if we do run into trouble, because there are even more rockets in that direction as well. And sometimes I get a little bit scared when my character stops moving when I'm running backwards because I can't actually see very well. And it does appear the Christmas decorations are gone. Wasn't actually sure because it's kind of hard to test that out because I'm pretty much doing all of my practice stuff in like the non-modded version of the game just because I feel like it. And because you actually use separate save files as well, which is kind of nice. And yeah, in that version, Christmas decorations were actually at the normal time, as I've said about 14 times already. But I'm just going to get rid of these with the hammer. I might actually kill a couple of those red biomechanoids with the Devastator because there is actually quite a large amount of Devastator ammo coming our way in the next area anyway. So we might as well have a little bit more fun with this. There he goes. And just take out the rest with fun hammer swings because, again, the more times we get to use this weapon, the more fun I'm going to be having in the game in general because melee weapons are always fun to use. Especially in a game like this where there's just a million enemies coming your way at once. And then you can still afford to switch to a melee weapon and just hit a bunch of bugs in the face. And it's just oddly satisfying to do that. Just because it's like, I don't care that there's a whole bunch of danger. I'm just gonna be mowing along and destroying everything that comes my way. Tries to stop me from doing the job I set out to do. I don't even care about all your rockets. I got a big hammer. That's good enough for me. If I was playing on Tourist, I could probably take out everyone with a hammer. But we're not, so we're not going to. But it would be kind of great. That is kind of one of the main fun sides about Tourist difficulty, really. You can just do whatever you want because it's virtually impossible to die. So you might as well kill everyone with the hammer. And there is actually, like, a way to hit really fast with the hammer. I don't know if I ever actually mentioned that because there's, like, months in between these recording sessions when it comes to Serious Sam for some reason. But yeah, if you like run and then switch weapons, you can actually, like while running you switch to a different weapon. You will actually just keep holding the hammer like this, and I wonder if I could just show it off. Like you'll just hit really quickly if you just hold the left mouse button. And then once you stop running, you'll actually switch weapons. You can't actually switch weapons while you are running after all in this game, so that's why that is a thing. Didn't mean to do that. That was kind of spooky. I'm going to use some rockets to get rid of these guys. And I just remembered that my rockets were running low, which is why I was using the hammer to begin with. But it's fine, because again, we have a lot of rockets. And I got hit a little bit more than I wanted to there, but it's fine. Nothing to really concern ourselves with in the end. As long as everything dies and I don't, I can always just run back for some armor power-ups and whatnot. There's one over there. So all in all, we're probably not going to run into too much trouble. And yeah, there's a lot of Devastator ammo coming our way, as I said previously. Which is nice, because it means we get to use this a lot more without having to worry about our ammo. Because the rest of the level doesn't actually have that much, but like from this point on, there's just going to be millions of bullets everywhere. That's an exaggeration, but you get the idea. So, how about we grab some cannonballs? There's a large quantity of cannonballs waiting for us over here. They're all lying next to each other. We're not going to use much of it just now because the things we're fighting are, well, we're going to be fighting scarier things, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Because there's going to be a couple Knooms coming our way a little bit sooner, a little bit later on. And there's a lot. There's nonsensically, like, I think there's like 15, which is about 7 times more than we've ever faced at the same time at any point in time. So that's kind of, but what are you going to do? But we walk over here, and immediately we're going to save, and there's a whole bunch of stuff coming our way. You can hear it, you're not going to see it immediately, because I'm going to be running back for a while. This area is really awkward to fight in, as you can probably imagine, due to the fact that there's just corridors everywhere. And we just came out of a really big open area where we can very easily move around, and it's a lot better. If you want to use cannonballs against this, it probably doesn't even matter all that much. But there's just so many red biomechanoids coming our way right now. There's bulls coming our way as well. The combination of these two in tight quarters is just really awkward to fight, especially just bulls on their own. If you just fight a bull in like a tight corridor, you're just gonna get knocked back and forth all over the place, and it's just not that great of an experience. Wouldn't really recommend doing that. So you gotta be a little bit careful here though, because there is a fair amount, but we do have the Devastator, as I have mentioned previously, which we can use a lot more over here. The Devastator does a lot less splash damage than the rocket launcher, which is why I personally prefer to use it in this instance. I'm actually going to use the cannon here to get rid of some of the red biomechanoids, because we should be fine ammo-wise regarding that. And simultaneously, we can kill a lot of bulls at the we can kill a lot of bulls at the same time as killing these red biomechanoids over here, and not have to worry about our ammo that much. Personally, I prefer to use like 4 cannonballs at most here, and then just sort of kite these bulls around. It's a little bit tricky, especially when there's this many of them. But generally, if you just stay calm and just sort of circle around the area, you're generally not going to get hit. And that's kind of important, because bulls hurt a lot. And I don't want to get hit by them ever, because I get very sad when that happens, and I don't like sadness. But in a big open area like this, it's very unlikely that you're going to get hit if you know how to just sort of have them circle around you. And it may take some practice, honestly, but you can't see them move like left and right like bulls do. They just run straight towards you. But I guess slightly at an angle, otherwise they would just always hit you. But they, as long as you just strafe in pretty much the opposite direction as they are, then that's usually good. I don't... My movement's hard to explain when I have to actually think about it. I just do everything sort of... like, it's just sort of automatic at this point, the way I move. It's worked in pretty much every Serious Sam game roughly the same way. There's like tiny differences of how you have to move with some enemies, but most of them work exactly the same across all like 6 games, however many there are, including like the console games and stuff like that. So when I actually have to think about how I'm actually moving and I have to explain it in words, it's like I press the button and then the character does the movement and then I'm not dead. You dig? And then people are like, yeah, dig. And I'm like, cool, let's eat brownies. And then we all have a good day. But if I have to explain any deeper than that, I just don't know what to do. Just make sure that the big cow things don't hit you in the face with their face. You'll probably be okay. If they're coming towards you, hold left or hold right. Whichever one you prefer. Whichever one has more room in that general direction. Probably a good idea. Room's important. You gotta have some personal space in this game. And if you give up all your personal space, you're gonna get killed by rockets. That's how you play game. If you give up your personal space, you get blown up by rockets. Also works as a metaphor for real life, thinking about it. So let's pretend that's what I was saying all this time. I'm teaching you kids how to live in the real world. Blow up everyone that disagree with you. That's usually how it goes on the internet, after all. But I think we killed a fair amount of things. I don't really know how many enemies I need to have killed from this point on, but I just need to know I basically need to only be lacking a single enemy before we get to a specific cutscene. And that's what I'm going to be aiming on. It's very unlikely you're actually going to be missing an enemy from this point on, because they're all running towards you. There's a couple at the very end which can be missed just because they spawn really slowly for some reason, but other than that, everything's pretty much going to be running straight towards you. on account that we are in big open areas and they can generally find their way to you. So keep that in mind. I'm also using the Devastator a lot. Like I said, you get a lot of ammo for it in this place. There's actually going to be one more secret area in this level, which is also the last secret area of this game, actually. And the last one that actually counts for the achievement to beat the game, or at least find all the secrets in the game. It doesn't actually count the DLC campaigns, I don't think. Otherwise, I might be wrong on that, actually, but I'm pretty sure it only counts the non-DLC levels for the Find All Secret achievement. But that secret also contains some Devastator ammo, and that's nice. Which is why I'm pretty much using up everything I have right now. But there we go, it's quieted down a little bit, we can move forward. We can move towards the secret area I was literally just talking about. And we're going to have a good time. Grab some cannonballs. I think we only shot 4, so we should be at max ammo again, and indeed we are. And all's cool. We should probably go back for those cannonballs at some point, but we're not going to do that immediately, on account that we still have the maximum number of them. Instead, we're just going to shoot some bugs with rockets. This is another point where you can probably just use the hammer, because we killed all the biomechanoids, I think. I think they all actually walk towards you. So the bugs over here just tend to spawn from the ground, and then they don't really know what to do, because that's how their AI works. But let's get rid of that guy. And now, yeah, it's pretty much just bugs right now, which is nice. If you fight over here, they probably do all roughly spawn around the same time, and you have to fight biomechanoids and bulls and these bugs at the same time. I'm not 100% sure, honestly. I just usually just run back on account that it's a lot safer. If you're playing on tourist, you can actually just run past everything here because nothing damages you enough. And then as the cutscene, everything despawns, I think, so it's like you might as well just run. Okay, so here's some boxes, and there's a bunch of ammo. And there's some rockets. Rockets are kind of like floating here, but that's fine. And about these boxes, one of these boxes, I don't really remember which one. There's a tiny hole in this one, and it contains some Devastator ammo, which you might not see because the shotgun shells fell on top of it. But it's there, and it says secret found, and that is secret number 4 out of 4 this level. So we have now found every single secret area that the main game has to offer. And with that, we're gonna move in this direction. Quick, there we go. I decided to stop talking there on account that if I die, then I can just load that autosave over there and it'll be like nothing ever happened. Because this has a tendency of going wrong sometimes, because it gets a bit hectic. This is where the Knoobs come into play, and I don't really like them all that much. It also has a lot of clear skeletons, and I'm probably going to be fighting a lot of them over here, because, well, a lot of them just died, which is nice, don't get me wrong. There's still a lot of them coming this way, and the remaining, like, 300 enemies pretty much all going to be fought underneath this little archway over here, so keep that in mind while we move on. The Knoobs are over there, the Knoobs are over here, the Knoobs are everywhere. There's 2 over there, there's 3 on the left. I don't particularly want to get hit by any of them, on account that I will be nearly dead when that happens, and that is unfortunate. And I am missing a lot of shots, which is actually also somewhat unfortunate, on account that I do need to actually be a little bit careful with my ammo over here when it comes to, like, the cannonballs, and in hindsight, probably should have not missed so much, but whatever. One thing to note is that 1 cannonball roughly equates to 5 Devastator shots of damage to one of these guys. So I can shoot it like 5 times with a Devastator and then just hit it one more time with the cannon, and that should kill one as well. Obviously I can use C4 as well, but that's just such a horrible move to do. Like, it's super scary to do that, and that was a waste of a cannonball, but whatever. Should be okay. I don't actually remember where the other cannonball power-up is. It might actually be to the left over here. And I kind of want to have that right now. There's a clear over here somewhere. I don't really know where. Oh, they're all coming this way. That's weird. Why are they all going over there? That's rude. I don't want them to go over there. That becomes really awkward in the long run, because then I have to fight enemies that are behind me, and I don't want to deal with that. So I hope I haven't missed any of them right now, because that would actually be kind of an issue if I have to run across a fairly large portion of the level over here. I guess we're fighting them over here now because we've run all the way back. It doesn't really matter. Like, a lot of these areas are actually quite good. The archway is usually good enough to fight these guys, but I made a mistake and then I had to run back a bit. And I'm actually going to shoot this guy with the Devastator 5 times, like I said. on account that gets rid of a lot of them. As you can see, like, my Devastator ammo is pretty much maxed out again from that previous area where I got ammo, which is just the bee's knees, on account that it means you can just get to use this weapon a lot more than in any other level, pretty much. And it's just nice. This weapon is so good. It insta-kills so many enemies. It kills bulls in 2 shots. I kind of thought there was one over there. There was not. That's kind of a mistake, but at least we got some clear skeletons over there as well. I kind of want to try and kill as many enemies as possible with a single cannonball shot. The speed of the cannonball sort of like helps its damage as well, and it does slow down a bit when it rolls over the floor, obviously, but it usually still does enough damage to take these guys down from the distances that I'm shooting off of, so it shouldn't be too bad what I'm doing over here. All I'm trying to make sure is that these guys never actually hit me with their attacks. That's really the only thing I'm concerned about, to be perfectly honest, because that is just devastating. It's more devastating than my Devastator, and that is pretty devastating all around. I'm not actually sure how many I've killed. Probably should have paid more attention to that, but we're not dead, so we're doing fine, right? That's usually how it goes. As long as we don't actually die, then I'm not too bothered. We can just take as long as we want on this. We have to just keep murdering things until they stop coming towards us, and the number of Knooms I'm seeing right now is surprisingly low for the amount of cannonballs I still have available. And yeah, there's another one coming this way, because we are going to have to use pretty much all of the cannonballs to kill these guys, so I'm wondering why there's so little coming. Or maybe it's just because I've been using the Devastator a little bit more than I would usually. Not 100% sure, but whatever works out. We're just going to keep shooting clear skeletons. We're just going to keep shooting Knooms. They're just going to keep coming this way. There's one over there as well, which is kind of an awkward spot. This is why I don't really like fighting here specifically, I guess, on account that you sort of have to shoot inside that corridored area, and it can make cannonballs just bounce all over the place if you miss. And that just, it usually isn't too bad in terms of like damaging yourself, but it just means that the cannonball is just wasted most of the time. It's very unlikely you're actually going to kill anything if it starts bouncing all over the place, strangely enough, actually. Given that the cannonball is huge. It is a really, really big projectile. And you would think that it would hit more if it just flies all over the place, but it usually actually doesn't. And also, when it bounces all over the place, it comes to a standstill pretty quickly as well. And when it stands still, it doesn't really do that much damage. Usually an enemy will run into it, and then it just explodes, and then the cannonball is just gone as well. I just shot a bro. Where did I shoot that at? That was a bit silly. But we're doing fine. We still have a lot of minigun ammo. There's a lot of minigun ammo up ahead as well, which is why this is a pretty good area to just use up just about anything you have, honestly. If there's a particular weapon you wish to use, this is a pretty good spot to use it, on account that, why not? This is pretty much the last place where we're actually going to need ammo. It's worth noting, you don't really need to keep ammo for the final like battle, so you can just use whatever you want over here, and you should be pretty okay. I'm worried that I'm missing enemies here, because there's enemies that I see running over here and then they're just gone. Maybe they did actually just die, but sometimes I don't actually see them be killed, and I also don't see them like leave, and then I get worried. Health and armor is actually still maxed out, which is ridiculous, because that's usually not how this goes. But simultaneously, I did run back pretty far, so that probably does have something to do with it. And one nice thing, if you are fighting further up ahead, is that there's basically just 2 holes where the enemies are coming from, and you just sort of stand in front of that for a while, and then after a while they're just all dead. And over here, I'm sort of forced to stand over here, because they could either come from over there or over there. And it kind of makes it awkward to move forward when I actually want to try and kill everyone, because these guys will just run for a long time. And they don't get eaten by the worm either. They just go wherever they want to go. The worm only hates me for some reason, and it's a bother, but what are you going to do? What we're going to do is we're just going to stay here and kill for a while. This is probably a place where it would be good to actually write down how many enemies I should have killed. At some point, I'm pretty sure I did, but then I got a new phone because my old phone was horrible and should have been replaced ages ago. But here we are now. It's about time I start switching out this weapon, because I have 6 bullets, and that doesn't kill a whole lot of enemies. Doesn't even kill one. There you go. Still needed one more shot, but From this point on, we are just basically standing still here and waiting for enemies to come to their death, pretty much. These guys are not going to kill us. It's so very unlikely that these guys are actually going to deal any damage to us at all, unless I start messing around or something like that. And I'm not one for messing around. I take everything very seriously. So it's very unlikely that I'm accidentally going to destroy myself at the end here. Truly that would never happen. But I'm gonna play it a little bit safe because I don't really want to replay all of this again. It starts off like kind of interesting, and then you just sort of wait for a while for enemies to come in, because it's kind of awkward to move forward from this point as well, on account that there is still gonna be more enemies coming up, and if you don't kill these guys, they're just gonna be behind you, and that's not so great. That's not the most fun in the world. I'm gonna hope that there's not an enemy to my right. I don't think there actually was. That's cool. Bunch of ammo. Pretty much refills most of my minigun, which is nice. And currently we're at 1,577 enemies. Is it right? I don't know. We're gonna see. As long as I'm on 1,772 at a very specific spot, then I don't even care how many bullets I have for whatever gun I'm using at the time. As long as we reach that number, then I'm entirely okay with whatever happens to me. So, I guess we did kill all the Knooms. We're at a really high amount of cannonballs. This is unusual, to say the least, but fair enough, I suppose. But if you are low on cannonballs, you can refill quite well over here. If you're low on health, you can refill over here as well. If you're low on Devastator ammo, you can refill over here as well. It's just got a lot of cool stuff. And there's a clear over here. I guess they do run back after a while, so that's nice. But from this point on, I'm going to move forward, and then we're going to move back again, because that's how I roll in this particular world of ours. Because there's going to be another fairly large quantity of clears. I accidentally clicked, which was silly, but shouldn't matter too much. And seeing as my amount of cannonballs is so high, I can probably use a couple over here without really having to worry about what's going on. But simultaneously, I like sticking to a plan, so I will probably only be using them when I really need to. But as you can hear, there's bulls coming our way. Bulls dive very nicely to this weapon over here. And death is good when it's not me, so we're gonna stick to that logic for now, and try not to be dead. That would be good. Now they dead, and I'm not sad about potentially being dead in the near future. And I'm just wasting cannonballs. It doesn't even matter. Like, I don't really need a particular ammo type from this point on, so I'm gonna stand over here, just shoot cannonballs while projectiles from clear skeletons inexplicably hit the wall over there for some unknown reason. That guy tried to hit me, but I didn't really appreciate that. All those random cannonballs actually managed to hit that Knoom over there, so that's kind of great, I suppose. Because there's like a couple over here. There's like one or two. I'm not actually sure how many there are. So I probably should not just continuously use the cannon, because I might actually need another cannonball over here. But it's just fun, you know? There's not many areas where you can really use the cannon in this game. At least not in the main levels. I don't remember the DLC levels at all, honestly. I don't remember any of them. I don't remember them being, like, especially bad. I just remember them just sort of being eh. But we'll get around to those after we've beaten the game, as I have said at some point, probably, presumably, maybe even many times. I don't even know anymore. I've said so many things during this playthrough that I'm gonna have to keep my word to, and I'm probably gonna have to rewatch the entire thing to know what I actually said all this time. But for now, we're just going to focus on using up all of our ammo on all of these nasty little guys over here that are trying to destroy us. And the Devastator is very good at this. Very good at all this murder that's going on. Because we're currently at 1,718 enemies. We are like 60 enemies away from having killed every single enemy in this level. Or at least the ones that matter. Which is something I'll be getting to in a minute. But for now, we're just going to continuously make sure that we are not dead. Occasionally shoot a bull or two here or there. That would be good. The bulls in particular are kind of a silly enemy type over here, because they, like, after a while you just reach a point where you're missing like 8 enemies or something. And it's like, well, now I'm waiting for bulls to spawn for a while, because for some reason it spawns a lot of them right now, but then at the end you're just waiting for a couple. And it's just a bit tedious. It's one of those things. Like, look at how much... Bulls, man. Bulls are destroyers of worlds. Well, we're roughly about the same amount of enemies killed as when we died. At least that sort of gives you a reasonable idea of what happens when you make, like, a pretty bad mistake. I knew that the bull was there, I just sort of thought it would run back around me again, but then I realized that there was a wall behind me. And that wall ended up being kinda bad. The wall sort of ended up destroying me. Because once these guys get close and start doing like their little... It's sort of a piddly melee attack, and it wasn't really that effective, I don't think, in the previous games either. Like, it did exist, sort of, but it would just sort of throw you in the air. In this game, it doesn't really throw you in the air at all anymore. It just damages you over and over until you just die. It was, it could have gone a little bit better, one might say, but I'm just gonna pretend it never happened. Just gonna pretend none of that ever happened, and we're just gonna move on with our lives. So currently we're at 1,764 enemies. I don't think I ever actually killed a Knum while re-killing everything, but I guess we'll see it soon enough. It'll be somewhere around that corner. Yeah, there it is. But that's fine. It just means that he's on his own and that he's now dead. So from this point on, it's kind of a matter of waiting, because we're still 8 enemies short of actually killing everyone, and 7 of those are bulls. And they're all gonna be roughly over here. It's a bit bright. If I run too far forward, a cutscene starts playing. But once that quick save or autosave happens, it's gonna put some bulls in front of us. It actually did a lot quicker than in like normal single player, so that's weird. But now we're just sort of sitting here and waiting for a couple extra bulls. It actually went really fast. Like, that's weird, because when I wasn't recording, this took forever. Like, they were just spawning like one at a time. It took a long time to do, but there we go. We're only missing one more enemy, and that means we can move forward in this direction.
Are you guys having an ugly contest? I'll make it easy for you. You both win.
So there's the boss. Here's a jetpack. Grab it.
Who needs choppers?
If you jump with it, you go rather fast, and that becomes kind of important. Grab the cannonballs over here, grab some health and armor over here if you need some more. And eventually the worm gets bored of fighting him and leaves again. And from that point on, this guy's gonna attack us, and that's when we want to fly around with the jetpack. Jetpack's pretty great, because it means you can fly around and not be dead. Because whenever you're on the floor and not flying around with this thing, you will just be usually moving too slow to survive, and that's kind of unfortunate. So right now, I don't like this boss. We're pretty much going to be ignoring this guy, or ignoring all the enemies just all the time. And we're pretty much just going to be waiting until he gets bored of us. We might as well just shoot him every now and then, see if he gets bored of us quicker. It's fairly unlikely. We just got to make sure that the temperature gauge at the bottom left does not run full, because then we die pretty much every time, because that'll happen. It does a lot of damage. And occasionally we're going to go over here and grab some sticks,
Unconventional, but you'll do.
which is kind of the important part of this battle. Right now we're just waiting for this guy to get bored of us. And it seems to just take a random amount of time for him to get bored. But he got bored, and now we can throw these sticks in his back. And that's kind of important. It's really the only thing you can do to kill him. And I kind of wish I knew where the sticks were. Or at least some of that were close. There we go. Because right now he's just going to be fighting the worm again. I want to throw 4 sticks into his back. At least. Like, that would be great. Then he just dies, basically, in a second. But 3 sometimes suffices as well. It sort of depends on how things go. I'm guessing we can only hit the third one in there right now, which is rather sad. Because, yeah, he's done with the worm. But after a while, he is going to get hit by lightning thanks to those rods that we put in his back. And now he can deal some damage. At least, sort of. We can do a little bit of damage. At least, we might actually kill him. No, we don't. So now we just sort of have to wait for him to either get bored of us again, or to just randomly get struck by lightning again, which sometimes also happen as well. I'm not really sure what the logic about it is, but every now and then he'll just get... There we go. And then we can just kill him, and that's the end of the battle.
And that's how we do it on planet Earth, you overgrown space cockroach. Hey, is your dad home? Yeah, tell him Sam's coming over to play, and by play, I mean kill him. Why, yes. As a matter of fact, I am. Moon my... Huh? I gotta get to that time lock right now. I'll see you in 3000 BC, Mental. You motherfucker!
And there you go. We've now beaten the main game, and yeah, I don't care about that final boss. It's really dumb because you pretty much just have to avoid, like, might as well just ignore all the enemies because there's just no point of attacking them, because I don't think I've ever actually been damaged by any of them there. But yeah, Serious Sam 3, it's a weird one for me. I kind of like the first half of the game more than the second half, honestly. When arguably the second half is when it becomes more of a Serious Sam game. But I don't know, like the first half of the game it's very different from what you usually expect from a Serious Sam game, but I think it sort of does things a little bit better than some of the later levels, especially just the last one. I don't really care about the last level at all. A lot of people really like it, so I think I'm actually quite in the minority on that one, but I just do not care at all about that final level. So there you go, what are you gonna do? And the story is quite different now as well. I think in the original Xbox version of the game there actually was like a backstory of how he goes back in time as well, which was a lot more cartoony, and I guess they are still sort of trying to forget everything ever happening regarding Serious Sam 2, so I guess they changed the story in that regard as well, and that's fair enough. I don't no one plays this game for the story. But there we go. We've at least beaten the game. At some point I'm going to do the DLC levels, hopefully in the not too distant future. And then we're just going to try and kill everything, get all the secret areas as well. We've killed, I am pretty sure, every single enemy in the game aside from that one in the Dark Bride, because I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist. But yeah, that was the end. I don't even really know where to rate this game in terms of like least or most favorite Serious Sam game, honestly, because I like certain aspects of Serious Sam 2. I just don't like Serious Sam 2 as a game in its entirety because it gets pretty bad after a while. And I do think this game is better than Serious Sam 2, but I think the last level of Serious Sam 2 is more interesting than this one. I think the final boss of that game is more interesting as well. It's just that game is way too long and horrible in too many places. This game was very pretty though. Like, it's a bit gritty, like a little bit too gritty for me, I guess. And you can like mess around with the colors as well, which is kind of nice. And with the mods, it does become a lot more silly as well. But it does look quite good, and it's nice that they use aspects of this engine to make the Talos Principle later on, which was an incredible looking game as well. So, you know, you gotta think positive. Even if you didn't like this game as much, the Talos Principle came out of it, and that was just a really, really pretty fun game. So, there you go. Yeah, it's something. But yeah, personally, I think nostalgia does help a lot in saying that the first and second encounter are just among my favorites, to say the least. But I don't know. Maybe this is just purely nostalgia, but I think those levels were just better designed in a lot of ways. I do not care about killing a million purple guys because they will not kill you unless you just stand still entirely. And the shotgunners and machine gunners are a little bit more scary on account that they have hit-scan weapons, but still, it's a lot of stuff sometimes in areas where the particular enemy type doesn't really accentuate the level. That sounds nice and pretentious, and that's what I'm going to leave it at. I hope you guys enjoyed it so far. Next time we play, we will be doing the DLC levels, the Jewel of the Nile episodes, which is like 3 levels or something like that. It's not super long, but there's a couple of interesting things about it. And we will be seeing how interesting that is when we get there. Is there a place where I can like see how many enemies I've killed? I guess over here. Like, we have just about destroyed everything and gotten every secret. We've at least gotten every secret area in the game. One enemy missing in the Dark Bride. Who knows where he is or she? I don't know. And that's pretty much it. And we beat the last level under the part-time of 80 minutes. By beating it in 1 hour and 8 minutes. That's a weird way of showing estimated time. But yeah. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you next time when we're doing the rest. Bye-bye.